Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Mr. Moderator, distinguished experts, and esteemed colleagues. We gather here today as Afro-descendants, a distinct group within the larger family of people of African descent. While we share a common ancestry, our experience is unique, shaped by centuries of forced displacement, enslavement, and enduring legacy of colonialism. We are united by our shared history of survival, resilience, and strength. For over 469 years, our identity has been shaped by the systems of oppression and injustice. Labels were imposed upon us that sought to diminish our worth and erase our heritage. But today, we proudly stand as Afro-descendants, embracing our true identity and asserting our right to empowerment, self-determination, and recognition on the global stage. The term people of African descent is broad, encompassing all individuals whose ancestry traces back to Africa. Whether living on the African continent or the global diaspora, this includes those who have maintained their cultural identity within African nations, as well as those whose identities have been shaped by migration, diaspora, and historical injustice. But as Afro-descendants, we stand apart. Our identity is defined not only by our African heritage, but by our specific shared history of forced displacement, enslavement, and racial oppression. For Afro-descendants, the history of our ancestors' chattel enslavement is our common thread. Afro-descendants are descendants of those forcibly displaced from Africa, stripped of our languages, culture, religions, identities, and subjected to brutal systems of dehumanization. Our ancestors endured enslavement, forced assimilation, and systematic erasure of our histories. The trauma passed down through generations still affects us today. This identity is not just a label, it's a declaration. It's an affirmation of who we are, who we have always been, and who we are yet to become. This is why the term Afro-descendant is so powerful. It binds us across borders, oceans, across generations. As Afro-descendants, we are a diverse people with different ideologies, religions, beliefs, but we are bound by a common heritage of survival, strength, and perseverance. We have become a new people, a people forged through suffering, yet a people with a vision of a brighter future. Today, we call upon this forum to support our call for recognition as Afro-descendants, as a distinct group under international law. We urge the United Nations to formally recognize the Afrodescendant Nation, a people with shared history of oppression and shared commitment to empowerment and self-determination. We ask that this recognition include that we are people who were forcibly dispossessed of our homeland, Africa. And since it's almost my time up, our journey towards self-determination and empowerment begins with recognition. So let us stand together as Afro-descendants, claiming our history, our identity, and our future. Let us continue to fight for reparations, for justice, and recognition, and let us ensure that the world understands we are Afro-descendants and we will not be ignored. Thank you. All right, thank you, Madam Chair. We, the Afro-Descendant Nation, urge the distinguished members of this working group to accept and recommend that the United Nations mandate member states to inform their citizens of the Afro-descendant identity defined as follows. The term Afro-descendants refers to descendants of peoples who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa, were transported to the Americas and slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion, and or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties or partially lost ties from their original identity. The time has come for us to be recognized for our human rights, rights that have been denied for centuries. We are asserting our right to self-determination, to shape our future and reclaim our dignity as a people. We continue to urge the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent to recommend that the United Nations allocate the 194th seat to Afrodescendants in the General Assembly, ensuring that our voices are heard and that our needs, human rights, and claims for reparatory justice are not overlooked in global decision-making processes. It is time that we speak for ourselves, and it is time for the world to listen. We call for reparations not as compensation for suffering, but as a means of repair and restoration. Reparations are essential for building a future where Afro-descendants can thrive, reclaiming what was stolen, our land, our culture, our dignity. We recommend looking at successful models such as the Jewish materials claims against Germany as a guide to securing reparations for Afro-descendants, including both financial restitution and the allocation of land for sustainable economic development. This approach, which combines moral claims with material restitution, offers a valuable blueprint for reparatory justice, a framework that can be adapted to our needs and used to pursue reparations from those who have wronged us. The Afrodescendant Nation is ready for self-determination. We are ready to shape our own future, to define our own destiny, and to claim our rightful place on the world stage. Sovereignty for us is not just a dream, it is our birthright. It is time for us to embrace our Afro-descendant identity with pride, to build the Afro-descendant nation with unity, and to create a future where we stand empowered, respected, and free. Our journey toward empowerment, self-determination, and reparations begins with recognition of our identity as Afro-descendant people. We are calling on you, the international community, to support us, not tomorrow, but today. Stand with the Afro-descendant nation in our fight for reparatory justice, equity, and tangible reparations. Join us as partners in recognizing Afro-descendants' human rights and shared destiny. The time to act is now. Thank you. Akilah Mukarram, President of the Afrodescendant Nation. The time for swift and decisive action is now. It is time for us, Afro-descendants, to rise united with a collective purpose. For centuries, we have been denied our rightful place, our rights, and our identity as a collective people, those of us in the United States and the slavery diaspora. We can no longer wait. Our future and the future of generations to come depends on what we do today. We have long talked about unification, but now the time has come to take action. This year, 2024, is almost over. We must ask ourselves, what will our children have? What will their children have? What will our future generations inherit if we do not act now? It is time for us to unify and to claim our rightful place in the world. Unifying as Afro-descendants enhances our collective unity. and unites us as one people, which is our first step to self-determination and achieving reparations. For instance, you can be an African American Afro-descendant. You can be a Black Afro-descendant, a Caribbean Afro-descendant, a Canadian Afro-descendant, a Brazilian Afro-descendant, a freedman Afro-descendant, a Rastafarian Afro-descendant, and the list goes on. It doesn't matter how you identify yourself today. By accepting Afro-descendant, we together form a strong, united people, all connected by our shared history and heritage. The trauma our ancestors endured, enslavement, forced assimilation, and cultural erasure, is not a distant memory. It continues to shape our lives today. We are demanding the recognition of our rights as an Afro-descendant people, the restoration of our dignity, and the power to govern ourselves. It is time to build an Afro-descendant nation, an autonomous, sovereign entity where we can flourish and thrive. Just as the Jewish people were given the opportunity to build the state of Israel, we too must be given the resources and support to build our own sovereign nation, the state of the Afro-descendant nation, ensuring that we are no longer subservient to any country. This includes land within the southern states of America, for example, where our ancestors endured unspeakable horrors, and also land abroad, as the Jewish people were granted, where we can establish a thriving, self-governed, sustainable community in our state, in our country. An assessment of federal lands in the United States and the Vatican's holdings is essential. Just as Israel was granted land abroad to ensure its survival and sovereignty, so too must we have the right to claim land where we can live independently with dignity and full autonomy. Together we can create an Afro-descendant nation that is a beacon of empowerment, justice, and resilience. Stand with us, and together let's create a future that honors our past, empowers our present, and secures a legacy for our future generations. Thank you.